We might as well just get started. Um, I'm calling things to order right now. I guess we'll do roll call. Betsy is not here. Nathan, me, Lexi, you here?
I'm here.
Okay. David, Robert, Tyler, here, and Grace. And Grace said she would probably zoom in. Looks like someone there. No,
Just Lexi. Yeah, online.
cool. Sounds good. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes?
Move to approve.
I'm gonna be a stickler. Would you guys please speak up?
Great.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second. We need a vote.
It's a
Sure.
all in favor.
Bob Jones.
Aye.
Bob Jones.
Yep.
Okay, great. All in favor to approve the minutes from February. Aye.
Can I really quick get everyone's last names just for the
Oh, sure. Let's just finish the vote first. Any nays in the room? Any nays online? Okay. So last name is Betsy Adams. Nathan Castrita, is that how you pronounce it? Castruita. It's also on the website if you just want to copy and paste it. Okay, that's where I'll do that. Be easy. Then we'll take some time for any public comment for items not on the agenda. And it looks like we don't have any members of the public. Just for context, we were expecting public comment today, so that's a first, except for the last meeting. We did have someone come talk to us about some concerns that they had about herbicides and pesticides in town, but it wasn't officially public comment because we didn't have an official meeting that time. So I guess
We can also move public comment to the end if we do gain members of the public online or in person.
Great. And maybe we'll move that to the end of the agenda items while we discuss other stuff. And I'm going to silence my phone because I'm getting a million spam calls today. Cool. So we talked about going through some highlights of the sustainability plan. We got a really big overview in March of all the awesome stuff that Emily is working on. And it was comprehensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, does anyone want to be filled in on some top highlights?
Let's hear the latest.
Yeah.
He is here to help.
Good timing.
So in April, the day after Earth Day, April 23rd, we had our first community listening session down at the library, and it's just an open forum where staff goes out into the world and speaks to the public. And so our first one, I will share. I was just wanting to breeze through the presentation that we gave. It was with our Human Resources Department. And
The new city manager is doing this, right?
yes. Try it. Lexi, can you see this?
I cannot see anything but all of you.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let's fix that.
I can see it now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yours is going to join. It says Betsy. Bye.
Okay, so our title was Sustainability in Action, How Our City Supports the Environment and Our Workforce. HR went first. It's not letting me make it big, so bear with me. Okay, good. So a big part of what they talked about is our core values, which are found in our strategic plan. And so the overarching goal is to retain good, good, nice employees and create a sustainable workforce.
Nice, competent professionals.
Nice, competent professionals. Be the employer of choice, holistic commercial and residential development, maintaining infrastructure, city services, things of that nature. So I'm kind of going to just skip through this a little bit. If you guys have questions on our hiring practices and things, we are happy to talk about that as well.
I do have a quick question. Is this McGrath's like swan song, right, before she retired? The old HR person.
Yeah.
No,
McMahon.
McMahon. sorry.
McMahon.
Yes.
Yes. So Renee McMahon, she retires at the end of the month, and this was her section, which was great. It was kind of interesting trying to figure out how to incorporate, but it was good. So reducing turnover, better service to community, growing more skilled and experienced workforce, and it also significantly does reduce costs as far as recruiting, training, things like that goes. Internal support, and so then we got to our section. What is environmental sustainability? So as you guys know, it's a practice of balancing the 3 Ps, right? People, planet, and profits. So conserving our resources, environmental health, needs of the people. And then we kind of get into our, missed one. So the key areas that we work in are solid waste and recycling, energy projects and efficiency, water and wastewater, and then other projects are kind of the things that don't really fall into any one thing, like the electric truck or, our public engagement, things of that nature. So first up, we have our solid waste and recycling. And so you guys have heard a lot about all of the things that we go through in this. And especially, when I sent out our sustainability updates, which again, pretty dense, pretty comprehensive. There's a lot in there. So this is like really the Cliff Notes, just a brief title of what we're doing. So our composting operation, food waste reduction pilot programs, which is our 2 phases, our commercial food waste and our urban chickens. Lithium battery recycling program, we're about to go under contract with Recycle Boise again, which is great. They've been really awesome. Our latex paint exchange is still happening twice a year. We wrapped up our last paint exchange on May 6th. We didn't have a lot of turnout on that one, and I was a little disappointed, but then I realized that our last fall exchange was it was hefty. Like we had such a huge turnout, and I was like, oh, maybe I just got them all then. And fall tends to be a bit bigger anyway, because most projects are wrapping up. Education and outreach, doing things like the listening session, going down to the library and holding classes on recycling. I'll be at the farmer's market this weekend. Come see me. We have new swag, if that helps tip the scale. Sustainable reclamation, our glass recycling and glass crusher, which is shipping, which is awesome. And then proposed in this upcoming year's budget is a shredder and excavator, which would help with our chipping of green waste for our compost program, as well as dealing with things like mattresses, tires, things like that, to take up less airspace at the landfill. So we are doing quite a bit. And then energy projects, we have 2 solar arrays. We had our ribbon cutting at the Bill Roberts Golf Course on Earth Day, which is awesome, on April 22nd. That was a very, very busy day for me. LED lighting upgrades in our industrial facilities, as well as this facility, as you can see. And a lot of our other ones are slowly working into it. Our renewable energy loan program, which you guys are incredibly familiar with, CPACE. And then we're also looking toward an efficiency assessment at the pool, which it desperately needs. it's everything over there is a billion years old. So
Oh, it's only open, what, 6 weeks in the year or something.
June through August. Yeah.
2.5 months.
August 16th. She said August as if it was normal month. Let me tell you.
Sorry, it is. It's middle of June to middle of August. Yeah. At Water and Wastewater, our 10-mile treatment plant had a filter replacement. We got a new turbo blower and mixers at our wastewater, which has just saved an incredible amount of energy and has created a lot of financial savings. Reservoir relining and leak repair has saved how much in water? Or how much does it save?
So when we reline Hale, we were saving over 1 million gallons of water a day.
So pretty darn significant.
And then we're still working diligently on tracking leaks. So it's easy to find out how much water you're losing due to leaks in your system because we know how much we make and we know how much we bill for.
Wow.
And so so there's still a pretty decent amount of leaks that are out there. And so there's some of the things
In this system of delivery.
Yep, in the distribution system. Yep. And so that's one of the
I saw a number
big things.
in my utilities bill. The water quality study.
Yeah.
Right? That was our peak amount of water per day ever was 11.8 million gallons.
During last summer, yeah.
So 1 million gallons a day at a lesser day, those ordinary days, that's
That's a lot.
more than 10% reduction in daily use. That's amazing.
And the 10-mile water treatment plant filter replacements, those have reduced the amount of energy that the 10-mile water treatment plant uses by about a third. Because they don't have, since the filters are more effective, they don't have to do as many back flushes, which is the energy, it's the big energy hog at the 10-mile plant. It's what causes the energy. It's big.
If you have not done, I shouldn't maybe say this, but let me ask you guys, is it okay for anybody on our community to go get a tour of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anybody ever wants a tour of our water treatment plant, either 10-mile or Missouri River or our wastewater treatment plant, we're always willing to give tours and stuff. 10-mile you can get any time of year, it's running all the time. Missouri River, you can only get tours of that during the summer because that's the only time that we typically feel this happen.
That would be a really fun field trip.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did a tour of the wastewater.
I would recommend doing it not with a quorum.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
Otherwise it's a public
Yeah,
meeting.
posted.
We'll just strap a GoPro to Tyler. So we
How do we go about scheduling something like that?
I can help with that. I can facilitate that. Yeah. Absolutely.
What's the status of the flume repair? Are they finishing this summer?
No.
No.
Construction, so it's finally, design is approved, the bid was awarded, and so they should be doing construction of the first phase this summer.
So they're like piecemealing it, right?
Yeah, they're starting at Chessman and working their way back. So right now, for anybody who doesn't know, any water that goes into the Red Mountain Flume, 80% of it is lost to infiltration. It's decomposing granitic soils and shales. Yeah. Oh, all the good things. And so what they're doing is they're working their way back from Chessman. And hopefully we'll be able to get the whole project done eventually. But that is also the most bang for our buck is starting there so that we can get the first springs that are in line.
I just for FYI thing, I was at the GEQ. They had a 1 hour thing Tuesday morning that they're talking about the PFAS standards. They're talking about putting standards in at the state level for PFAS. You guys are having
So, and then next we have our other project. So, the electric vehicle pilot, which has been really great. A lot of our naysayers who were pretty unhappy with us for buying that are now our top checker outers, which is great. Everybody who's driven it has really enjoyed it, which is awesome. Then, of course, we have our vehicle charging stations, the Xeriscape Gardenet Law and Justice. We have our signage in for that, which is great. So that's hopefully going to get put up soon. It's now in the hands of facilities to get that installed. Of course, public outreach and education, and then our sustainability and recycling monthly newsletter, which if you guys haven't signed up for, it's really fun. It's a huge labor of love. And we talk about all kinds of stuff. Like this month we had leak repair and I don't even remember. I'm already on to next month. But it's cool. And it also has like transfer station closures. We had a blurb last month about the pool opening and things like that. Oh, we also had an article on Centennial Park and how it used to be the town dome, which is
That was
interesting.
a very interesting article. Good read. Good job, Emma.
Good. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Do we have anyone else online right now? It seems like
no, it's just Lexi still.
someone texted me and said, I don't know whose number it is, but
Oh, it's Denise, yes.
Hey, not to interrupt, but it looks like Denise and Betsy are on, but they're not on as panelists.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to,
Betsy would be a panelist.
yes. Okay. Here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Jesus. Okay.
Uh,
I'm gonna mute myself, but I just wanted to make sure.
So we're just on the item number 4 on the agenda.
Yeah, I've been lurking as a viewer, I guess. But I just figured out how to become a panelist. Thanks.
Hi, Betsy.
Hi.
So we originally had public comment on toward the beginning, but as we didn't have any public in the room, we have moved it to the end. So we'll hold all public comment until the end.
Actually, why don't we? So do we have public comment on each agenda item, or is it public comment is its own section? I guess is my question.
It really depends. I think typically it's toward the beginning and toward the end.
Yeah, we have public comment on agenda items and then public comments at the end. For note-taking purposes, I would prefer them separated in those two sections than public comment on each agenda item through the middle.
Okay. Well, why don't we do public comment before the agenda items, but we can have it separate.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that
No,
would
we do it twice.
Sorry.
We do it twice. We don't just do one.
There's one that's public comment, and then the last or second to last one is public participation. So
Public communications.
communications.
Okay. Yeah, let's do public comment after this then.
Sure. Okay, so now looking into the future, these are all things that we work on consistently: water conservation, energy efficiencies, waste diversion, community engagement and education, public-private partnerships, and community resiliency. We didn't put anything solid in there just because it's always changing. And it was more of a broad overview than the nitty-gritty, like the big update that I sent out to the board. So, and then, yeah, our last page was just, while we were there, these are some ways that you can get involved and connect with the city. Do you guys have anything for me on any of this? Any questions or?
It looks terrific.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really does.
It was a lot of fun. We had, I think, 17 people in the room. And then some people left before the very end, but we had really good questions in the room. So, no. Cool. Great. All right. I will bring back up this. Share our agenda for our friends online.
Did incorporate Nova Siesta in the American.
This actually focused good data on two things. The meta-analysis is that it improves productivity the same number of hours of work. Actually perform better than 15 and a half. But also, in many countries, especially Northern European countries, there's a stigma of incompetence associated with it. So maintaining our health that way is that it's necessary to have your own office. It's like knocks on the door. You're awake. I don't know this.
I have a hard time napping for 15 or 20 minutes. But I feel like it's a quick 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, we may as well move on to the public comment portion then. And it seems like we have a member of the public here to comment. Denise, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Great. So my understanding that public comment happens separate from the agenda items. So yeah, we'll open it up to you and anyone else in the public who's here.
Am I at this point in time supposed to comment on something that's already on the agenda, or are you waiting for that for towards the end?
As I understand it, it's what's on the agenda and anything else you want to talk about. Yeah.
Okay, I was hoping to hear the conversation first about the municipal compost and biosolids, not just PFAS. And then I would respond. Is that possible to do that?
Sure.
That's why we have it twice, one at the beginning. They can
Sure.
on the agenda. Then.
If you have any, if you want to make any comments that would give us some context, I guess I'll just say, you know, this came up in our last meeting, or I guess our last meeting that we didn't reach quorum at, that there was some concern from the public about PFAS and medical contamination in the biosolids that's used in the municipal compost. I did a little bit of research myself, but it's not something I'm super familiar with, and that's why it's on the agenda today. And yeah, if you have any comments to make that would help inform the discussion, I'd be happy to hear it now. But if you want to wait until after the discussion, you can as well.
I'll just go ahead just to make sure it happens. So as some of you may know, I'm Denise Rothbarber. I used to be on the Citizens Conservation Board a couple of years ago. And I am personally very concerned about using biosolids in our compost, which is a 180, by the way, from how I felt a few years ago. We even toured and applauded both the landfill here in Helena, and another member and I went to Missoula and just thought that was a great use of a resource rather than just throwing it away. But since then, new information has come to light, and I would like for the Conservation Board to consider one of your 5 recommendations that you can make to the city in January of 2027 to consider asking the city to no longer apply biosolids to the compost. I know from communicating with Leah about this that there was one small sample taken of one pile, and it didn't show a concerning amount of PFAS at this time. My response to that is that was poor sampling, in that I'm sure that sample itself was valid, but I think everybody who's in science knows you don't just take one small sample of one little pile and and call it representative of the full picture. But also, for me anyway, I'm as concerned about the 700 other chemicals that have been found in biosolids, according to an EPA risk assessment of pollutants in sewage sludge and biosolids. Sometimes they're interchangeable, sometimes they're not. So we know already, I think most of us already know, that pharmaceuticals are heavily present in our wastewater. We also know microplastics are heavily present. And despite the fact that our city has a really thorough treatment at the wastewater treatment center or station out there, they do a great job. However, it's still limited. And according to the EPA, they came out with a draft sewage sludge risk assessment and determined that traditional wastewater treatment technology does not remove or destroy PFAS. And then they tend to accumulate in the sewage sludge. And I would doubt that, as good as the treatment is at the treatment plant, I don't think it gets rid of the 700 chemicals. It's just not designed to do that. And the Montana DEQ has a 2020 PFA action plan, and it identifies wastewater treatment plants, including biosolid sites, as a major source of PFAS, and recommends, the DEQ recommends that we prevent the creation of new sites such as biosolid application sites, and I'm sure that means composting as well. So there's a lot of stuff in our waste that cannot be completely filtered out. And from what I understand, our landfill does a really good job preventing leaching, given our clay soils and how dry it is. So I would just say in conclusion that, given the persistent health risk associated with the contaminants found in biosolids, including pharmaceuticals, microplastics, and PFAS, I urge the Conservation Board to recommend that the city discontinue the application of biosolids to the landfill's composting operation. And because the landfill has documented minimal leachate, the disposing of biosolids is, unfortunately, just in terms of waste reduction, nonetheless, disposing of biosolids at the landfill is a safer alternative to incorporating them into compost, which is subsequently used on food crops, parks, and landscaping, potentially allowing these permanent contaminants to enter our soil and our water forever. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm now realizing how disjointed the agenda items look. I know.
I think I got it lined up.
Is it possible to just scoot the discussion back?
Yeah.
Is there anywhere you would?
I'll play around with it. I think we can do whatever we want.
Okay.
At all.
Because we may as well talk about this issue now. Yeah. Well,
Sounds like an informed thing, but I'd like to hear what Leah has to say about it. And
Yeah.
Leah has to say about it.
So, I'll reiterate that the composting operation is not the city of Helenas. It is Lewis and Clark counties. The biosolids are ours, and we do take them out to the landfill to be utilized in their operation. The difference is that it's a reduction in cost for us, in that it is treated as waste, as in like green waste. It provides water for that operation. They're high in moisture, and they're also high in nutrients. And so we have seen great positive impacts from utilizing the biosolids. The small sampling that Denise mentioned that we did, Lewis and Clark County is the one that spearheaded that one to find out what was in the compost. So PFAS are per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. They received the common name of Forever Chemicals before we really understood that they do in fact break down. They don't break down in the way that we would have initially expected. However, they do break down. They are not existing in perpetuity. So they do break down. There are ways to break them down. How they're utilized by individuals. So fire suppression is the PFAS part of it. So PFAS is the overarching umbrella that encompasses all per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. The biggest ones are PFOA and PFOS. So PFOA and PFOS. And PFOS is typically what you see is the contamination around military bases and from firefighting foams, and like from airports and things like that. PFAS are components that you're typically seeing from residential or industrial sectors. So a lot of the studies on the biosolids are coming from as high areas or high sources of contamination are from locations that have industrial sources of PFAS. City of Helena or PFAS in their drinking water systems. All of our drinking water came back as non-detect for PFAS, both the Missouri River sources, our groundwater sources, and the 10 Mile source. All came back negative for PFAS or non-detect.
And that was adequately sampled.
Yes. So that was sampled under an emerging contaminant rule for drinking water called UCMR 5. We are now into UCMR 6, so we're sampling for different things. So, so the only source for PFAS for Helena, we don't have any industrial manufacturing that would be utilizing any chemicals that have it. At one point, we did have a metal finishing shop, a decorative industrial. It was called Decorative Industrial Plating. They're no longer in business. And even then, when we looked at their chemical list, there wasn't a clear source of high levels of PFAS. So we wouldn't be expecting our biosolids to have high levels of PFAS either. When we did the samples, we took samples of the biosolids, a green waste, a compost pile that was made solely of green waste, and a pile that was made of PFAS or not PFAS, I apologize, the biosolids and the green waste. The pile that came back with the highest amount of PFAS was our green waste pile, like the green waste only. The reason for that being because one of the most common residential uses for PFAS containing products is still for horticultural uses. It's a great surfactant. So a lot of your weed and feeds, a lot of those types of things have your PFAS in them. Our biosolids, while they still came back with having some PFAS in them, it was lower than the green waste, and then because the green waste pile, and because the combination pile is a combination of the two, of course it's going to be lower because you're combining a lower with a. So that one was our mid-range one. So highest was green waste, lowest was our biosolids, and then the middle ground was the two that were mixed. It makes sense. So in some of the compost operations that do accept biosolids that have seen higher numbers of PFAS, Garden City Compost over in Missoula, they had a high amount of PFAS in their compost when it was tested during a PBS spotlight. It was because they were accepting leachate from the landfill. Our landfill, like Denise said, it's in between two clay layers, and so it creates a very nice tomb. We don't have a lot of leachate from it. Any leachate that we have, we are able to handle on site. We do a lot of evapotranspiration. things like that. And so as a whole, City of Helena municipality, we're not as concerned about the use of the biosolids in the compost with the green waste.
It sort of sounds as if we might worry more about the articles.
And the only way to correct that is
Well,
people don't know that it's in it when they buy it. And that problem actually stems more on the federal level, because what we need is we would need the federal government to pass a regulation that any products that contain PFAS, it has to be disclosed. Similar to like the lead warnings and things like that. That's what consumers would need in order to know that what they're purchasing contains PFAS. And so they can make the educated decisions too.
can I ask another kind of, I don't know how far out this is from your area, but is there work going on? I know, for example, the landfill in the city of Springfield, where we live all these years, right? That we have a methane converter that provided with hours of energy. Is there work like that going on with the biosolids and with or maybe the PFAS? I don't know. PFAS.
So a little. So we have a methane boiler at the wastewater treatment plant. So any of the methane that's produced in the digesters and things, we utilize that to actually, in a boiler system that actually in turn heats the digesters. Because
Does that stop some of this chemical concern that Denise is bringing up by burning it?
It does on the methane side, but it doesn't heat the biosolids to a point that it would break down the PFAS.
Nasty stuff.
So they're finding out that PFAS are able to be broken down at much lower temperatures than was originally thought. And so that's one of the interesting things, that as this is an emerging contaminant, they're learning so much more. So some of the systems that some of the treatment plants put in place that were in the hundreds of millions of dollars, they're now finding out that you can do for closer to about $40 to $50 million, because they're learning so much more about PFAS.
So only large municipalities and states and stuff would be able to afford this.
Yeah. There's also about only 20% as much PFAS in the environment now as there was when we first really started to discover this in the 1990s. The reason for that is because you can no longer manufacture PFAS in the United States. So you can't,
I'm hearing about it in this Himalaya salt and stuff like that. So.
Yes. So it is, PFAS are worldwide. You will find them in the Arctic. You will find them anywhere where there is precipitation. The reason for that is because PFAS are hydrophobic. They don't like water. So they attach to, and this is why they're more prevalent in the biosolids than the water itself, is given the opportunity, they will attach to a carbon. So typically in that it's your solids in the wastewater. So
It's us.
yes. So sewage sludge, that is your untreated solid slurry matter. Biosolids are after that slurry has gone through an extensive treatment process of heat and pathogen removal and settling and polymers and all sorts of stuff. So the completed product at the end it's been dewatered and everything, is a biosolid. It's not a sewage sludge. So sewage sludge, it is in the process, but it's at the beginning. It's not the treated pathogen-free product. You can tell the difference by smell. Sewage sludge smells horrible.
I took a tour of the wastewater.
Yes, you do. Biosolids smell earthy. You can stand in a biosolids like filter press room. It's hard to stand anywhere near, and it's not good for you to stand anywhere near the sewage sludge. So that's the big difference between those two. But PFAS like to attach to particles or to carbons. and it's also how you treat for them, but it's why they're everywhere. So water molecules condensate on a dust particle. That's how you get precipitation, snow. I don't, you guys all know the water cycle. I don't have to tell you that.
I guess just to bring it back to the issue, I have a couple questions because I am concerned about PFAS contamination. I worked on some legislation this past session about banning firefighting foams that contain PFAS, and I have a lot of questions. Is the Helena Airport not linked up to the system? Is the National Guard base not linked up to our system? I guess you mentioned that we didn't have any industry that potentially could contribute to this issue, and I guess my overview perspective is I see environmental pollutants and chemical pollution as like potentially eruptive events that happen, and my concern is that like a small sample size from one point in time may not get the whole picture. And so I guess that was like 4 different questions.
Yeah. So I'll start at the beginning.
Yeah.
They are not allowed to discharge PFAS to us. So they are connected, but it is only in their domestic waste streams.
Okay. Both the airport and the guard base?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So there is PFAS contamination stemming from from Fort Harrison, but that is groundwater contamination that they have to deal with.
Well, they have their own treatment.
Yep, and they've started to install their own mitigation system out there.
The military bases are also being managed by a federal water quality section at DEQ right now. Can I pause it a little something?
Yeah.
Because this actually is my work. So Billings is using their biosolids as alternative daily fill cover in their landfill. So it is a viable option to pursue using it, and they're saving money on their daily cover that they would otherwise have to use by utilizing their biosolids, which they also mix with green waste compost. And so there's a staying there. So I don't know, it could be like something we talk about, like what the financial incentives are and what, if anything, the landfill could benefit from using that and what their alternative daily cover is currently. Because landfills have to like apply 6 inches of daily cover daily. Next day you apply 6 more on top of what you put in that day. And so it could be utilized as that potentially. And I think we're seeing that across our bigger landfills in the state currently. So
Also, just keep in mind, our landfill is county, not city. So if there were to be a recommendation on it, that would need to go to county.
Can we do that then? Can we actually recommend to county?
Not really.
Yeah, you can
Tell
as
the city
private
to
citizens.
Recommend the city.
Yeah, you could recommend it to the commission, the city commission recommended the county commission. The other thing is that, so there's different forms of alternative daily cover. Lewis and Clark County landfill doesn't use the oils.
Hang on just a second. Can you mute Denise, please, or somebody needs to mute?
She's good.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
We actually use tarps for alternative daily cover. And so those are the tarps that get burned up if we have a lithium battery fire. And so using the tarp system, especially at ours, what that helps to do is it helps keep water out of our cells. And so that's also part of the reason why we have such a low leachate and such a low methane problem, is because we don't have the water available for everything to break down. And then also, by removing the green waste and the organic matter from the landfill and using it outside of it, that's what, if you leave that in a landfill, that's what creates the methane, the greenhouse gases,
Why we get alcohol, right?
Yes. And so by removing, and it also is typically very water dense. And so if you leave that green waste or put that green waste in the landfill or leave it in the landfill and don't divert it, then what you would end up with is you end up with higher amounts of leachate, and you end up with higher amounts of methane being produced at those landfills. The higher the amount of leachate that you have, then you're typically precipitating out more heavy metals, you're precipitating out more of your PFAS, more of your
So the tarps are keeping us a little bit better off than.
Yes, it's the twofold. You're keeping moisture out of the landfill, and you're also in two ways by preventing the precipitation from going into the enclosed cell, and then you're
Keep
also
moisture out by that.
by not putting the green waste into the landfill. And so it's dual. It's dual.
Do you guys have the methane system hooked up to collect methane from the landfill and serve back out to customers the way other landfills do? Or is that an ongoing project that will be future?
So because of where ours is at, it's sandwiched in between two clay layers. So because of that, we are currently able to work it more like a tomb. So there isn't any air that really gets to it, which means that we don't have the methane production we would normally have at like the Billings landfill. So Billings landfill has they produce a lot of methane, and so what they're able to do is they're able to put in methane extraction systems, and then they take that and they sell it on the market, and so it goes into like the natural gas system and things like that. Ours doesn't produce enough methane to be able to market it.
Plus, it's the landfill that's owned by the county. Anyway, right, so.
Yeah, so and Billings landfill, I want to say the city of Billings might actually own that landfill. But yeah, it's in this case it's Lewis and Clark County that owns this landfill. We own the biosolids, and we can dictate, we can
Negotiate around that.
kind of, so we can say, you can have our biosolids, but we want them to go into the cell if that's what you guys choose to say. However, bear in mind that the biosolids have less PFAS than the green waste is. And the county is not likely to start putting the green waste back into the landfill, and that absolutely their system and the green waste that we take in at the transfer station is vastly from the county residents, and so we likely can't dictate that to them either, of that they have to put that into their cell. Once we pay them to take it, it's up to them what they do.
Yeah. Are there any guidances from the EPA on managing this stuff? I looked into it a little bit. I think like in 2024 there was a guidance, but that halted.
Yes. So this is one of those instances where there's a pause, and we'll wait and see if that's good or bad. Part of the reason that I, on the regulated side, am okay with the pause is because of some of the standards that they were coming out with PFAS. So in comparing the PFAS limit so like everybody knows that there is no acceptable level of lead. And because we have studied lead, we know all of the effects that lead has on us. PFAS is an emerging contaminant. We don't know as much about the effects that it has on the body and stuff like that. PFAS had and does for drinking water, has a lower level than lead does.
It's parts per trillion.
It's parts per trillion, and lead is currently regulated at parts per billion. It's not because we can't get lead all the way down to parts per trillion. And so what was the reason that was caused is because it was brought up that if lead is at this level, and we have every study that shows that there is no acceptable level of lead, why is PFAS that we're still figuring out what it does, and that it doesn't have, unlike lead, PFAS doesn't have an acute exposure level. It only has a chronic exposure level. So
So
they're,
far,
yeah, so they're trying to figure, so since they're still figuring out what it does and what the acceptable level is, why is the lowest level that we can test to when lead is?
Sure.
can I ask a further question from the expert
Yeah.
here? It's my impression that bonding with carbon piece, that it may not be the plastics themselves, but plastics that you use in your microwave that bond with, because endocrine modulating that's a carbon thing too. That's not a plastic polymer thing. That's a carbon. So it's bonding with something. I remember hearing this in 2003 about how estrogenous substances were the endocrine modulators of the day, those and including all the pill, basically, that's getting the water supply.
Yep.
And that endocrine modulator piece is maybe partly what's going on, that it's bonding with PFAS, and it's these other substances that are actually causing the issues.
Potentially, yeah. So they are starting. I'm so glad that you're interested. Yeah. So sorry, this is my world. It is. And so I don't know what study you're talking about in 2003.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. I'm proud. The one that I read, at least in Colorado.
there were several,
Yeah.
but that one's.
They figured out that the wastewater that came out from below Colorado State University had such high levels of
The pill.
the pill, sulfonation
That's
in it,
good.
that it was having an effect on the sex of the trout that were down below the stream. It was incredibly fascinating. So what they're finding out more is that they're starting to be able to narrow PFAS down to its effects on the endocrine system. But like Bob said, they aren't sure if it's the PFAS themselves or the other things that are binding to the PFAS that are causing the problems. And so because PFAS likes to attach to carbons, one of the most effective ways to filter it is actually, well, in a very pure form it's one of the purest forms of carbon that we have available to us. Coal.
Oh, coal. Yeah.
And so your general coal filter. And so what they're finding is, and then heating that coal, not to the point that the coal is actually necessarily burning itself, but it's then breaking it down off of that. And so it takes some very clean coal. But so those are some of the things that are coming out. Sorry guys. I know. Great, she wasn't here.
Sorry, Tyler, just to clarify, don't the minutes just have to say the time for when we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Leah Anderson,
Leah Anderson.
Bob Jones.
gave a presentation on PFAS.
You get live service responses.
And it doesn't mean.
Stop it. Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Uh,
the back.
But so they're still finding out what all of this does, and like Bob said, that's why it's still listed as an emerging contaminant, and that's why it hasn't been moved.
And I guess with respect to the public comment, and I also want to make sure that our folks online, our board members can talk to. If you guys have any comments.
I want to follow up on one of your other
Yeah.
questions regarding testing. What is the city doing now in terms of drinking water, wastewater, compost in terms of testing?
So we have not continued doing the testing because of the fact that because it hasn't had a regulatory number placed on it yet, the methodology hasn't been established for compliant testing. And the testing for it is incredibly expensive. And we're talking $1,200 a sample expensive. And anytime you take a sample, you also have to do the confirmation. So you're talking about $3,600 if you want to do a single sample, just to make sure that you do your trip length and I won't go through a sample with you guys.
Is that just for these chemicals, or is it for the
That,
whole panel?
so that is just for an overarching PFAS number. That's not even them breaking it down and into, that's not them fractionating it.
Sure.
And there's getting to be more labs that will do it. But it's also really hard to get into those labs.
Everybody's wanting it now.
There's,
So,
so every time a lab gets certified in it, then they just get inundated. So Energy Labs and Billings 2 years ago got certified for the method that was the hottest method at the time. And so they said, hey, we'll take PFAS. And then at the pre-treatment conference I was just at, they said we have a 6-month wait for us to be able to provide you back your sample results.
We're still trying to figure out why it causes problems,
But yeah, so no, we have not continued to do the samples because regulatory wise, we're not required to. Secondarily, there isn't a standardized method that's acceptable yet. And so anything of the results that we would get right now wouldn't be valid for future. We could still try to use the UCMR5 methodology, but that one is now outdated and about to run. So, yeah.
Great. And I guess with respect to the public comment too, Denise had talked about medical contaminants.
Yeah.
I don't know how wastewater treatment works, but feels like this end of the table may know better about like medical pollutants and.
Man, thankfully not me. I'm stormwater, so I'm not treatment plants.
So, yes, pharmaceuticals
Are we
are.
detecting levels of that stuff?
So, which one would you be looking for? Is the bigger question with a lot of that, because there is such a large amount of pharmaceuticals that the other thing that you're looking at with that is, even though there's such a large number of pharmaceuticals, there's not as many that plants can take up. And so that would affect plants. Animals and organisms, who those pharmaceuticals were designed for.
Some of them could be really fun and good.
You never know. You never know. So with that question, we're less concerned about people using these for compost if it does have pharmaceuticals in it, because those pharmaceuticals aren't typically readily available and taken up by the plants. In an email that I had with Denise previously, one of the things that she was potentially concerned about was radioactive materials from like chemotherapy patients and things like that. Typically, those are at such a low level, especially in the volume of the wastewater treatment plant that we do take in, that I hate to say it, they get diluted pretty quickly.
I noticed though that one of the two issues in the report on this last utility bill had uranium as one of the issues.
So that was in our water bill. So we have naturally occurring uranium in our water. So that comes from the geology that we're pulling, that the water is coming from, and the springs that it's coming from.
I found a really pretty rock up on DLM and put it in my pocket. Came home and looked it up on my app and went.
It's a good one. Yeah. So, and it is gorgeous.
It is pretty.
So because we are on the edge of a magma intrusion, it's called the Boulder batholith. Because we're on the edge of that, that's why you're going to find there's some groundwater that people have tried to drill for housing that they couldn't use because it was too high in uranium. That's also why we have the naturally occurring arsenic.
Don't tell the Russians.
Well, they don't tell Canada. That's the company.
But
What's the guy, the legislator? Maybe I shouldn't say it on camera. Randy something. Yeah, the nuclear.
But yeah,
So that-
so while yes, there is pharmaceuticals in there, there's very few that the plants can actually uptake that would then be into the fruits that people would be consuming and people would be eating. So as long as people aren't eating the compost, really, there's pica and stuff, but
Is local agriculture the biggest purchaser of the compost, or is it mostly?
So a lot of it is utilized on reclamations and construction projects. So anybody like a lot of your MDT projects that are around and stuff like that, when they're wanting things to grow quickly and well right after, then they'll use that as part of the reclamation. We use it as part of our reclamation out at the landfill. We do sell some of it to private individuals, but the vast majority of it is bought by your larger users.
So our Parks Department also uses it for a lot of their fields. They just, I think it was 60 yards, I think is what they just pulled a couple of weeks ago.
We do sometimes utilize it. So it has, because it's compost, it actually has methane consuming bacteria in it. And so if you utilize that on somewhere like Centennial Park, which is our own landfill, then it actually helps mitigate some of the methane that comes from the cap. So that's kind of cool. But it's not the original reason that they use it. They also use it because of some of the subsidence and stuff that's out there. But we won't go into the issues with Centennial Park in this meeting. You guys actually want to be home at some point.
That would be
Yeah.
a 12-hour meeting. Yeah.
I guess, does anyone have any big comments or questions?
Appreciation for the comments from the needs.
Yeah. No, it's good. And staff, we love hearing these types of comments because we don't want to be putting something out there that could potentially be harmful for individuals either, or that people are using things that they aren't aware that there could, potentially be things in. But any compost that is made from any green material, whether it's organic or anything like that, organic does not mean PFAS free. So just everybody keep that in mind. It's not part of the regulations for organics. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I guess a couple comments. I would love to see the test.
Yeah,
if we can,
absolutely.
if that's something I can request and
Yeah.
if I'm mistaken and
I'll send it to you.
I don't know if I kind of want to see the cost benefit of using it or like how much the city saves. I don't know how much work this creates for you guys or what I'm allowed to request from city staff, but I'd love to know like how much the city saves on this. And yeah,
Yeah, so one of the things that that Emily can do is she can get you at the very least the number of tons of biosolids that we take out there, and then she can get you the tipping fee at the landfill and maybe do a little extrapolation.
can do multiplication.
So you can do your own math if you want. Yeah, we can provide you that information. Emily, Emily, you have a copy of those test results, don't you?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, absolutely. I'll send them out to the whole board.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Get those analytes out to you guys. Yeah.
And remember, they're older methodologies. So just keep that in mind. So you'll be wanting to compare things that have the same methodology.
Cool. I'll have a whole dissertation by next meeting. So.
Or if you're looking for reading too outside of this, Maine is the only state that's like regulated it. That was back in 2020 something, and
There's actually a lot of states that have.
they have since then. Okay, well they were ran into the same issue Leo was talking about with what do they do with it? And they were putting in the landfill all the water, but now they're putting in like a dryer and separating the water to go to the water treatment plant, and then now have like dry sludge. But I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I saw that Maine, Connecticut banned any biosolids being applied to land. Virginia has like a 15 to 25 micrograms per kilogram limit. If your biosolids are above a certain limit, it can only be applied to, I guess that's the limit for ag land, but if it's above 50 micrograms per kilogram, it's banned completely, can't be applied. And sounds like a state regulation. And I know that there is like a PFAS study bill right now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna dig into it.
Can anybody
Yeah.
guess why it's states back east that are left?
I know that my dad grew up in a Dow chemical town.
It's because that's
Yeah.
the main
Yeah.
locations where it was manufactured. So anywhere that you have these big areas where it was manufactured, and anywhere that has a problem with PFAS, either in their water or residual in their environment, those are the locations that you don't want to be using biosolids in, that you don't want to be doing these applications. I'm not saying biosolids are safe everywhere to use for applications. Absolutely not. Ours are okay as far as levels and stuff like that. Yes, there are absolutely some more stories of where biosolids were being applied before they really knew much about PFAS, and even sometimes after they knew about the PFAS. But those are areas that have high concentrations of PFAS, either in their water or from industrial users, or in their environment from industries and from manufacturing. And so, yes, it is problems in some locations. Luckily, we don't have that problem here. Kalispell had a big enough problem with PFAS that they had put in a temporary treatment system for one or two of their wells. And so it was PFAS there. It was a problem from the firefighters' phones, and some of the shallower groundwater. And so so it's not that it isn't a problem in biosolids. We just get lucky enough that it's not.
Cool. Betsy, Lexi, any comments?
None from me, thank you.
Me neither. Thanks.
Cool. All right, I guess we can move on to the next agenda item, which will be the discussion of the presentation to the City Commission. I can be really quick. I really want to get this off the agenda because it's been here for like 3 or 4 months. But I just want to pull up the presentation real quick so I remember all of our recommendations.
When is this supposed to happen again?
So January, if we get on the agenda. So yeah, we had 4 recommendations. I'll just go through the list and give what feedback I heard. But overall, very well received. The commissioners were excited that we were an engaged board that has concrete recommendations that they can act on. And yeah, so number 1 was allocating additional funds to the renewable or the residential energy and sustainability revolving loan program. We recommended that we just up that number and said that can we change that language in the resolution to prioritize low income residents or applicants, because that was in the original proposal and we thought it was a good idea. The commission liked the idea. Honestly, city staff pushed back on it more than I expected. It is not a revolving loan program. 3% goes to administration, which seemed to be a big issue. Sorry, not that big of an issue. I was just a little like, oh wow, I thought this was a great thing.
It's asking the city to be big.
But it does sound like there's an administrative burden for staff to manage these, but I think we can do it. This is my belief, and I'm not sure if the commission has acted on our recommendations yet, but
Well, I don't think they have.
Yeah,
I'm doing an observer core thing for the city, and I'm not almost there. I think there was positive discussion of it, but I think that asking the city to be a bank in Springfield, again, that sounds my example. They had a bank effectively it was mostly for the community development block grant program. but it could have been used for other things as well.
Yeah. Overall, well received. Folks liked it. Number 2 was the creating a dedicated budget for the City of Helena Sustainability Program. I don't totally remember how this one went, other than the issue of, what is a sustainability project came up. Sure, we bought, what was it, $500,000 glass crusher or whatever. Did that count as a sustainability project or is it a public works project? I feel like we got through that discussion here in like 2 minutes. But how do we bring together all these projects that Emily presented on today and turn that into a more flexible budget? And the justification being, hey, this makes your already small and nimble sustainability team like even more effective. There's less, burden on the commission to approve all these projects. That seemed to land pretty well.
I think it was budget issues, right? That we're down, revenue is down from what's projected or something.
Yes. However, from that, we have received indications that to come up with kind of a plan. So one of the problems with establishing a fund is that then all funds have internal charges that come out of them. And so you lose percentages. And so the direction that we're receiving is a step, and I'll take steps, that any of the money that's remaining from the projects that we've completed. So the transportation solar project had a little bit of money left over from its budget. We'll have a tiny scotch of money left over from the lighting budget and stuff like that. That money and the money from the grants is looking at being lumped into one, we'll call it project at the end of the year. And then that project will be carried over to the next year. So at least now, instead of having 8 different pots of money, we're trying to keep the funds from and figure out how to keep them all together and keep track of. There's potential, still in the works, potential that all of that would be combined into one so that we can carry it over so we know how much money we have to be able to work with.
So sustainability line or general fund for sustainability.
Yeah, a sustainability line item, more or less.
So it's not the full shebang,
It's not the full
but it is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. So that it gets, so when we get the direct pay incentives in like a year or so, the other thing is that then there's a place to put that money instead of just like putting an earmark on it and it going into the stack. That designation stays with it and it stays so we know how much we have to work with. So when we approach the commission with projects, we can say it has this much funding, we would need X amount more, or if you would just approve us to use X amount of funding from the sustainability pot.
The 2026 recommendation is we recommended infusion of money into that lump sum.
1 million.
Yep.
No, you gotta say this. 1 million.
Number 3 was kind of my idea, the downtown park or downtown bike lane signage and marking. I don't know if anything's happened with that. It's a real feel good. Don't we all love biking? Don't we want to have less cars? It's not going to mess up parking.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap.
I mean, in the meeting, they did direct the question to our director of transportation. And he was like, yeah, we're already looking into it.
And we don't know what transportation's projects are for this year yet. And so we can't, we will, once the budget is passed and we
Then
know
we'll
which ones
know.
are being funded, we can actually look into their projects and we can tell you if that's part of their project or not.
Yeah, and there's still this broader transportation plan happening for
Yeah,
the
Planning
metropolitan
organization.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does that happen when the city has that shortfall on transportation and is looking at removing public transportation?
Oh, you're talking about the MPO. MPOs are grant. They're a way to get federal grant.
But will that infuse money to get public transportation
No.
potentially?
Almost certainly. That's almost all.
So the hope is this crowd of more cars.
Revolving around.
I shouldn't laugh.
There's more things.
So I guess we'll see. And then number 4 was our planting the seed with the mobile bottle filling station, and actually was probably the best received out of all of them. The idea that this is a public-facing sustainnability project, that we can have, the city out in public, telling people about all the other great stuff that they're doing. And we have a water guy on the commission now, and he's pretty excited about it. Again, this would be a filling station so that we don't have fewer plastic bottles downtown. Maybe the impact is less quantifiable or large, but getting staff out there talking about these programs and getting citizens engaged really landed pretty well. And I know Emily talked about the numbers involved. Yeah.
Yep, sorry, we have
Any questions or?
we have a question from the public, and so I'm just letting her know that we will address that as soon as we get to public communications.
That's about it. It overall went well. I think the commission was happy to have our board come in and be like, look at all these great things. Look at all these awesome things you can do.
And with the water bottle filling station, like, people were into it.
Yeah.
Was the general vibe. And I was approached by Pat Marin, who's what is his new position now that he's not
Park superintendent.
park superintendent? Yeah, I'm used to him being parks maintenance supervisor. But Pat was really interested in it, and he really loved the idea. And so he suggested that parks install water bottle filling station at some of our most trafficked parks. And while it's not quite the direction you guys were going with, it's still a step in the right direction. And so he was going to look into his budget and see what he could make happen, and whether it involved phasing it in, or if he was able to have the funding next fiscal that he could just install them. So you guys definitely got people thinking and moving and taking action.
Cool. Let's just look at the time. Does anyone need to jump at 6? Is that? I'm happy to go later, but I also want to have respect for the public that showed up today. So I don't know that we need to talk about brainstorm potential recommendations for 2026 in the next 9 minutes. Are you guys okay if we
Push that to next.
push that to next?
That's fun.
Unless, yeah,
I do want to go to item 6 though. I have something.
sure. Yeah. Then I move that we go to item 6. Yeah. I don't know that we vote on that. I think I just do that as the chair, but I'm going to do that.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this with a personal story because I'm told that works. Right? I found out that one of my ancestors, my 10th great grandmother Jones, is a woman named Catherine Boyle Jones, and she was the fabulously wealthy, fabulously wealthy Earl of Cork's daughter, and her brother was, by the way, Robert Boyle. So it's now called Jones and Boyle's Law, of course. So never mind anyway. So what I found out that was interesting is that she had this notion. She was part of a group called the Hartford Circle of universal public education. This is in 1640, right? This wild-eyed, idealistic notion. So I decided to have a wild-eyed, idealistic notion that I've talked with others about over the years, including Ryan Leland, the head of Public Works. And there's a lot more to it. Most of my family members are nowhere near as virtuous and fat good things that not good for humanity with respect to utilities. So that's where I'm getting this. I think that given all the stuff that's going on with Northwestern Power and Black Hills Power and hugely environmentally damaging plants for data. Sorry, no, I'm not casting shade here, but that we probably ought to think about having our own, right, our own valley. Yes, our own valley city utility, or valley utility, to produce energy here. And I'm just throwing the idea out there. I've brought the idea up over the last 3 years, more than that now actually, and I think it takes the power of utilities away from stockholders, decommodifies something that everybody needs. We do that now with water. We already have a water utility and trash utilities. Those are necessary things, and everybody has to have water. Everybody has to have their trash stuff. So our energy efficiency and our energy control over our energy here in the community, I believe would be better served by local city related or maybe valley utility. So again, throwing the idea out there for consideration. I'm going to be talking to people about it just for fun. So.
You can make details on that.
We can get a lot of weight here. We can see what we can get for one wind.
Well, what you also have to use eminent domain to buy out Northwestern's transmission infrastructure, which seems like an extremely heavy lift for.
Well,
the city.
I think this would make a great thing to talk about during a brainstorming session.
I'll find out more. I'm chatting with the attorney for one of the attorneys for Northwestern Energy, who just happens to be married to. Yes. Yeah, so I'm
Don't
planning.
tell them you're starting this in this group.
No, I won't. Yeah, I won't put a target on anybody but me.
Great. Any other member communications or proposals for the next agenda? I was just thinking it would be good to start getting the ball rolling on 26.
I sent an email and a follow-up email to you for proposed agenda. Did you get it?
Was it this week?
It's the first one's probably a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And then I just sent a follow-up like yesterday to see how it got.
Sorry, I have been waking up at 4 a.m. looking for birds for the past.
I think I sent
I'm so sorry about that.
Saturday.
So sorry about that.
I just think it would be helpful to get stock of what.
I did see this. Yeah.
Recommended and what has been approved to help guide our future recommendations. So I want to. Yeah, I don't remember what all I said in there. It was a lot more wordy.
Yeah.
Too wordy, but.
So Tyler had asked the chair, who didn't respond to the email, either of them, to talk about prior sustainability plans or recommendations from previous committees. And I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think kind of feels like there's a disconnect from what the CCB used to be and what we are now. And I've been trying to learn. I feel like there's like not much on the website of prior recommendations and
Well, there's that like list of somebody put together like 5 or 6 years ago, all the recommendations, like what's implemented. I think is that posted on
Great
there?
big one.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll dig into it and see if there's something specific that I can.
Well, yeah, that list exists. I think we had kind of talked about, and maybe we had run through kind of it when we didn't have quorum, like what you guys had been doing. But I wanted like city sustainability plans or like master plans to better get a sense of like where we could plug in or recommend like the biking. If that's already in a master plan, we could target more in ones that are already created, because I think we'll have better luck to push things that are already documented.
Would it be helpful if I requested like a list of relevant studies that have been done or master plans that
or anything active currently,
and then I could send it out to the board that we could dig into and then discuss what came out of that? Is that kind of what you're
I think so.
asking for?
You're gonna wanna make it specific as
Right.
to what you determine would be relevant, because there's a lot of
Sure.
many. And they're all
Yeah.
like 200 plus pages.
Yeah.
do we have a subset of ones that are just active or not completed yet? Like, does that whittle it down at all, or does that mean it's still exhaustive?
I think they're more concepts than plans.
Yeah, and what do you count as active?
Do you mean like resolutions or?
Or is it, or like the most current plan, or?
No, I guess I'm thinking things like your guys' solid waste master plan or management plan and things like that. Other master plans that have been created that kind of guide your work over the next blah blah blah, or that have maybe, I guess, gosh, if they're already active and I don't want to plug into something that's already planned in like 5 years. I guess I'm thinking of ones maybe that were not currently active in like that way.
They're posted somewhere online, but are they in one spot or?
No, not, well, so like,
Yeah,
It's like per department.
it's kind of per program, so like if you wanna see like the stormwater master plan, it's on Stormwater's website. If you wanna see, the solid waste, the integrated solid waste master plan, that's on the solid waste website. If you wanna see some of like the community development ones and things like that, that's on theirs. There isn't a,
It's like per department and then sub that department.
So maybe the question is finding which ones have active plans or like which departments have plans that they're operating under. And maybe I'll parse that out and send you an email with something more specific.
Cool. Yeah, if there are specific topics you want to hit, that'd be great. I can then take that and ask for those master plans.
Yeah, yep.
And I guess on the recommendation side, because that was part of your email too, was the last 5 years. Is that you said that's available on the website?
I think when we did the recommendations the last couple of times, yeah, there was a description. I knew what you're talking about, right? That there was a description of the recommendations from previous CCDs, which got pretty lengthy.
Yeah,
often,
I remember reading. So,
Yeah.
well, how about we have that help set the table for this brainstorming?
I would also remember to keep in mind that, you guys this board was recreated with some slightly different boundaries and guidelines than some of the previous board had. And that not everything that the previous board had suggested and put in, the commission determined was within the bounds of this.
Totally. Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, and any of the recommendations, compare it to what the commission determined your guys' role and guidelines are. Yeah.
Well, Lexi or Betsy, do you have any proposals?
I do not. And I think she just jumped off.
Betsy.
Yep, that's-
Did we lose Denise as well? Okay.
Let me.
Well, then I guess we can do public communications.
Yep, Betsy said sorry, she has to head out.
Denise, thanks for your patience here.
So
Yeah, I'm not used to this form of public comment coming from legislative experience, so.
it looks like Denise is no longer on, but I'll ask her question just so it's on the record and she can go back and watch it. So Denise's question was, if the PFAS testing method used earlier is outdated, as Leah noted, how much stock can be put into the results of that one sample?
So a decent amount, because the method was still a valid method. It just isn't able to be, so they're breaking PFAS down now into their proper subsets. And so like the drinking water regulation, a lot of people say that the PFAS limit is 4 parts per trillion. It's 4 parts per trillion for PFOA and for PFOS, but it's 10 parts per trillion for other factions of it, and then it's even higher for other factions of that. And so just because your PFAS number is up here doesn't mean that that your numbers are actually high enough to be out of compliance for regulation. So we didn't have it fractionated because at the time you couldn't, down to those further fractions. We had PFOA and PFOS, and they didn't have the other numbers.
Not really the same test, or somewhat different.
Yeah, so even if it comes, so even when you're looking at the PFAS, nobody really looks at the PFAS number. You look at the fractionation. And so what we have is the PFAS numbers. So that's why it's not as relevant. But at the time, that's what we were looking at. And our PFAS number was still low enough that even regardless of the fractionation, we would have been fine. But the regulations are not a PFAS regulation, they're the fractionations.
Gotcha.
And so that's why it's not relevant anymore, is because it isn't fractionated so you can see what if it exceeds the regulation.
Cool.
We have no other public online.
Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Like,
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Guys, that was a lot. That was a good
theater.
Nice job.
Probably feels busy because we haven't had one in so long.
Yeah, crammed it in the one meeting. And thanks for taking the minutes.
Very extensive.
Here's